Garden Diary, 3rd of November 2021. Springtime and everything has grown. I've been away, we've got new fruit on lots of young trees. Monty's surprise, lots of little fruits. Lots of black currants, raspberries, some Isolde apple grafts, and an attempt at grafting fruiting wood. Didn't work so well, but it's growing. Mixtures of things, plum grafts, so many black currants. Avocados sprouting back. This is what a 2-year-old almond graft looks like. Lots of almonds. Jar hedge beginning to grow. And grape is starting to grow over the trellis. Pretty good fruit set on the self-seeded green gauge. In the coves. Random bits of nursery stuff. Wild fruit tossing zone. Nashi pear is looking beautiful. And over we go. Beans. Raw beans. Little loquats. Avocados. Baby apples. Kiwi fruit. Hops starting their race. And back on round. How is the Purple King looking this year? Pretty light fruit set on the Purple King. Mulberry struggling away. I think this is what happens when grafts. This is almond on peach. It has lost all its leaves. It's sprouting new. Maybe there's a bit of incompatibility because the peach is looking good, but the almond graft is not so good. And yet the almonds are still pretty fat. This is what it's probably a 4-year-old peach tree from seed, and grafted an all-in-one almond onto it. Not last spring, but the spring before, and it's probably 50 almonds on there, and we get to see what the peach variety is this year as well. This is how I trial my seedling trees. If they're just another seedling, I can cut this away if it's something I don't want. It looks to be just another black boy. These are self-seeded trees, so never really know what they're going to be. But we can have our insurance crop of almonds. Pretty much any stone fruit will graft onto, well, pretty much any stone fruit in my experience. First time this, what is it, Kids Orange Red is fruited. Just a little flower there. Borage everywhere. Great for bringing in the bees. What is this? Another almond graft, or maybe a nectarine graft. Cardoons, Corphi, crab apple. Huh. The rose garden. Some peaches just sit here for years and then they just finally start to grow. We'll turn over to see the mulberry, which seems to have lost all its mulberries. It got a bit frosted, but come late summer it'll be giant. This is a 3-year-old cutting. 2-year? Yeah, this will be its 3rd year. It's as big as my wrist, big as my arm. Got shallots in a circle. This will be the tomato zone later today. Little baby navel orange. Oh, bumblebee and bee fighting over. Wow, my videoing's not that great. Celery, lettuce, stuff. Gobo, or what is it? Burdock. Giant leaves. More of this wild celery. Oh, a little climber. A little clematis maybe. Great understory summer plant. Maybe marjoram, I think. And these dudes. Oh, we have a bunch of grapes for the first time. What will they be? We always forget. Little lemon tree, trying to fill in the gaps with the feijoa. Another favourite of the bees, pineapple sage. And a little borage zone with damson suckers that I've just plonked in here. The odd This is what a blackcurrant cutting looks like when you stab it into the ground. It'll probably make a cup of fruit in the first year. How ridiculous is that? Yeah, haven't got around to grafting these, but they're all the same damson clone. Just a sucker from disturbing the roots. They put up lots of shoots and they're very easy to move around. In winter time, you can graft apricots onto them. Although this apricot is grafted onto a wild plum seedling, which you can see down here somewhere. This is the plum and this is the apricot. It's an early apricot. Oh, hello. This is such a nice time of year. Forage everywhere. Grass, rye. Everything's flowering. Everything's coming to life. Full of lushness. This is sort of apple planting, different varieties grafted onto sterma seedlings. Sterma seedlings from a sterma was a pollinizer tree in a block of gala apples. So I'm fairly certain it's open pollinated, but should be a fairly certain gala sterma cross, which I think has good potential. Again, these are all grafted at about, try and let them get up to about waist height and then graft them. I thought this was rye, but I think it's just grass in the end. Not many of the broad beans came up, but I just tossed them there. So this is quite a vigorous 2-year-old apple seedling, which I've grafted in about 5 different places. So yeah, it's a way of getting fruit while you wait for your seedling to produce its own unique new fruit, which I'm very excited about. What is this? Lancewood tree. Background here. Little orbs everywhere. Wild zone. Jerusalem artichokes popping up. Loquat pajoas. Back to the apple zone. Picking out some grafts. I need to do a little bit of trimming around these to free up the grafts. Make sure I remember where the graft is and not to chop it out. It's a little Aleagnus silverberry. Oh, cool! A new seedling peach out of some compost that I put around this artichoke plant. Line of artichokes, my favourite zone. Little trees everywhere. Radish flower. This will be totally changed come midsummer. All those artichokes. Little cherry tree. A few little cherries in there. Our first apricots ever. Believe it or not, this is a nursery zone, and these are all apricots lost in here, grafted onto seed. Plum seedlings that have dropped directly down from this tree, this seedling tree here. That's like a 10-year-old tree, maybe more. I'm just starting to summer prune it after it's finished fruiting, because just so it doesn't compete quite as much with the other things around it that I want to get up to canopy size, and then they can have a more fair competition. New poplar arch with grapes climbing up, and oh, it's going to be a cracker blackcurrant harvest this year. Some pumpkin scraps dumped here. This is probably what I'm most excited about this year. The Fox River apple tree growing in the gnarliest conditions, been flooded by the ocean several times, trying to fruit it in some more favourable East Coast, South Island conditions here in New Zealand. At the top of this tree we have a seedling found at Loch Katrine. It's a golden russet type apple, and it was my favourite at the time. It had one fruit last year, but that was just a fluke with the graft. This year it's being smarter and not fruiting, trying to grow a bit. The rest of this tree's a bourgeard, I believe, and I've got a few little grafts on here. This is again trying to graft fruiting wood, but it did not. It might have flowered. Yeah, it flowered, and they didn't have the energy to support the flowers yet. It's not surprising. Full of lushness. Gonna be heaps of grapes this year. Heaps and heaps. And this year I will work out what one the delicious green seedless grape is in the mix of nice but seedy wine grapes. I don't know what they are. Heaps of forage. Not a heavy fruit set for the Cox's orange tree. This tree is 24 years old, and it's 3 meters high. It didn't grow for the first. It's grown twice the size in the last 2 years because I finally gave it some compost and some attention, and the bees just love this forage. Bumblebees. Pear tree's got a bit of disease going on. Something's boring into it. I've tried to cut out the worst of it, but I think we will lose it eventually. In the meantime, I've grafted a pear from the red zone in Christchurch. It was a very old I don't know how to describe it, but it was fruiting very early, maybe because it was dying, but it was delicious fruit. So I'm trying to save the genetics because it was probably 100-year-old tree. Some little black, what are they? Um, Chilean guava, kiwi fruit. Avocado got frosted, but hopefully better luck this year. This is my morning view. But currents everywhere. What are we going to do with all these currents? Oh, wow. This graft. What is it? Is old there, I believe. Where'd the writing go? Maybe apples. Learning to embrace the weeds is the best thing that's ever happened to me. All these things, almost probably half the things you pull out thinking they're a weed are actually really useful for something. Whether it's tea or just greens. A little Lappin's cherry tree looking healthy. Dwarf though, starting to grow. Some rye in amongst. More artichokes. Another pear tree. I'm shocking with the varieties of these pears. I don't know what they are. Duff's early plum has a good amount of fruit on it. More apricot onto plum again. Plum shoots still trying to grow. A wilding area. This is what happens when you make compost using all sorts of bits of locally native trees. Some karamu. You plant out your veggies and all the little seedlings come up as well, and then if you don't intervene you'll get a forest that is human encouraged. So it has a ton of peaches in it, you'll find, at least in this zone. I think we're zone 9B here. That's a noisy car. But yeah, you get a multi-functioning forest eventually if you don't. Every time you intervene, you slow it. Well, no, that's not true. You can intervene and prevent the land turning into a forest, or you can help it to turn into a forest that suits you, as well as all the wildlife. And the wildlife definitely loves this forest. Our old Stella tree, ever reliable, compact Stella. We've never pruned this really, and it just goes to show that you don't need to prune fruit trees unless there's specific things that you want to achieve where pruning can be very useful. This is a cordia graft, a little cordia cherry, and more the cottage garden. Elderberries in amongst. Great for bringing birds into your garden. We have gooseberries and Worcestershire berries, more comfrey, and spalliard apple seedling, multi-grafted. Lots of things, I don't know what they are. Hollyhocks, Chilean guava is doing really well. Heaps of broccoli, sprouting broccoli. This has been self-seeding itself for the last 4 years. No real intervention except for dumping a few loads of compost in there, lawn clippings in there, that sort of thing. The old currant patch. Lots of green things, lots of self-seeded plums, which will get moved probably. Got to work with neighbours. Greens. Heaps of nectarines this year. Low crop looking lush. And this is like, I'm gonna say, what pops out of a graft in the first month of growth, maybe 2 months. Pretty impressive. Rhubarb's looking giant. The grape is needing to be tamed. Here I have some in this little square raised bed. There is a lot of things growing. There's a lot of edible weeds. Nettles are one of my favourite. Steamed greens. These are chickweed, also good, cut up in a salad. These seedling apples are from a late hanging tree in Mapua called Isolde, which I pinched. I've actually now bought scions from the lady, which is really awesome. But I couldn't help myself. They were hanging on the tree in August, which is late winter here, and they were just too good. They were so juicy and crunchy, even so late. We've got lots of feijoas all around. Lots of peaches all around. This is our red currant is finally. We've got heavy clay soil here, and currants really love it, but they take the red currant has taken a while to get going. But yeah, just allowing all the plants to do their thing and maximize photosynthesis, maximize energy intake from the sun. Got all these solar panels, and they provide us with solar power in the form of fruit. And I think these are more pear grafts onto quince from the red zone, which have taken quite well. And you can see in there they're just little bud grafts that you do in, well, pretty much any time of year, but best done in the late summer. Though I find actually probably early autumn is better because by that time the tree has stopped growing and it won't envelop the bud that you put in there. More bud grass of nectarine onto peach. Mystery peach hasn't fruited yet, but it was a very tasty nectarine, so I had to graft it out. It's very easy to let this happen. This is quince and this is the grafted pear. You got to keep an eye on your grafts. I've been away for 2 months. Ever producing artichokes. Loads of borage seedlings. Cleavers. Olives flowering like mad. Great to have an oily plant, oily fruit plant. Quite a wild zone, but there's potatoes in here. These are probably kororo potatoes, or maybe urineka. Purple potatoes. Cherry graft. Yeah. I believe in mixing everything up. Beautiful forage. Comfrey. And the favourite of them all. My favourite tree, I think. Sometimes. It's this or the apple. The elderberry, elderflower. Gonna make some elderflower champagne today. Everything's happening today, apparently. So yeah, turn your weedy trees into things that you'll be inclined